The values that I was taught about dancing were taught to me by my grandfather, who was Frank Textigan. He said, you want to come out to this circle, you can't just come out and try to win money, try to look cool. You know, he said, that's not why we dance. The ones who are out there spectating, those are the people that you dance for. Some of them, maybe they're in wheelchairs. He said, you dance for them. Some of them have heavy hearts. They lost a loved one, so you dance for them. When you dance, the people can see your heart. It's in a good place. Their spirit is uplifted. Healing takes place. Let your steps be a prayer. It's a celebration. The relationship that America has with its indigenous people, it's not a good one. People will look at Native people and say, high suicide rate there, you know, alcoholism. Why can't they just get it together like everybody else? But they don't understand what was done to the Native people had a devastating effect. War, genocide, hate, being told that you're evil, that you're less human, devastating impact, you know, on who we are, our culture, our identity. It's kind of like a bomb. Each generation is feeling that shockwave still. The whole culture of hip hop, I was really drawn towards it, you know, because I thought it was just really cool. Also, what the rappers were talking about, the inner cities and the struggle of being oppressed. What they were talking about was like, hey, what we were going through too, kind of gave us a voice. As time went on, we heard natives rapping. These guys are telling their story. Shoot, I'll tell my story too, you know. So we would freestyle and we would write lyrics down. We started expressing ourselves, talking about the res. Oh, hey, you know, this guy's from the res, you know, like me, you know. I really loved the sound of scratching. I saved up money, you know, firefighting to like buy myself a turntable. I would just spend hours, you know, just perfecting my craft. We just had to learn everything ourselves. Hearing somebody else saying, hey, that sounds good, you know, man, that's cool. That passion always just built up. I finally got introduced to an artist who was doing what I wanted to do. He was a native out there, like rapping and traveling. I sent him my demo and he's like, yo, I like it. Let's work together. Let's go out on tour. Okay, I'm gonna make this sacrifice. I'm gonna leave my family and go out here. And so that's what I did. Early on, my mind was in a different place. And I started to kind of get a little taste of fame, so to speak. I enjoyed that. It made me feel good. I made some mistakes in that realm. Thinking about what I did, you know, thinking about my family, my wife, and, you know, my future, just everything. I was just like, nah, that's not who I want to be. You know, I don't really want to be this person. You know, I don't want to be this guy. Right after that, I started taking steps towards being that person of positivity and love and expressing that through my music. Speaking out for Native rights or, you know, human rights, I was never that person. I was just like, go with the flow type. I started to travel. I started to see different cultures, different Native cultures, you know, the way these people view natives. You're open to what's going on, even about my own culture and who I am. There's a lot of crazy things going on. I felt I had to say something because people were listening to me. The cultural aspect, the dancing and what I do, I never want to do it for a gimmick. When I wear my regalia, it's not just fashion. It has a deep meaning. The beadwork that my wife and my daughter did for me, they put their heart and their soul into every stitch. When they're sitting there, they're praying for me, you know, Creator, watch over them, let them say good words. Wherever I go and I wear my outfit, I take my family with me. You know, my wife is with me, my kids are with me, my ancestors, they're with me. I can't be drinking alcohol, doing drugs and wearing this thing, talking about crazy stuff because it's sacred, it's sacred to me. The platform that I have as an artist, it's a good place to be to educate people. Wearing my outfit, it grabs the listener. I'm able to share with them and educate them. People ask me, hey, what messages do you want to relate with your music? It's the basic message of love. I don't really have an agenda when I go do my presentations. Faith, hope, love. I just want to spread those messages, and however they receive those is the way it's going to go. You can never deny somebody's kindness, somebody's love, no matter what culture they come from, no matter what their view is. If you're giving love, you're helping people, you're going to get that back. Our young people, they're dying. They're on drugs, they're on alcohol, they're struggling, with their identity. I'll get it in the inboxes and the emails afterwards. And they'll say, hey, I was one of those kids way in the back. And I just wanted to reach out to you and say, I think that's dope what you do, I was going to commit suicide. And the more you talked and the more you shared, I felt like I wanted to face life, I felt like living. I heard your story. It was just like mine, man. I'm going through the same thing, but I think I'm going to live, man. I'm going to face life. Thank you. Thank you for what you do. You saved my life, bam. So you hear a story like that and you realize the power and the gift that you have is making a difference. It's helping people. One of the most memorable performances was down in Mescalero, Apache. The whole community came out. There was like 1,000 people there. There was one moment where I got done and it was like a standing ovation. You're all just clapping, cheering. I stood there, just like nodding to the people. I could see their faces. I was connected with that crowd at that moment. And the way they looked at me, they were like happy. I just felt like crying. It's like, man, this is powerful. What I'm doing has meaning and it has a place, and it's a powerful thing. And it allows me to have that fire, that motivation to keep going, to keep making music, keep presenting, and keep doing what I'm doing.
And I, after reading the book, realized that I knew nothing about the American Indian, and that everything that we are taught about the American Indian is wrong. It's inaccurate. And our school books are hopelessly lacking, perhaps criminally lacking, in revealing what our relationship was with the Indian. When we hear, as we've heard throughout all our lives, no matter how old we are, that we are a country that stands for freedom, for rightness, for justice, for everyone. It simply doesn't apply to those who are not white. It just simply doesn't apply. And we were the most rapacious, aggressive, destructive, torturing, monstrous people who swept from one coast to the other, murdering. Indians have been tragically misrepresented in films and in our history books, in our attitudes, in our reporting. And so we must set about to re-educate ourselves.
Okay, I'm going to start with a poem from An American Sunrise, my forthcoming book. And I don't think most people really know how poets work. We're all very different. And there's a lot of revision involved. If you watch a wood carver carving or even a painter at work, you can watch the process and all the different layers. And there's a misconception that poets just get inspired by whatever means.
Yeah.
A sunrise, clouds, nature, somebody else, and there it is. And every once in a while, a poem will happen that way, and then you'll come in and clean it up a little. And others, you're hammering away at it. You take parts off, like words or phrases, or you change them because each word or phrase has different meaning, color, sound. So it's quite a process. I revised this book more than any other book, and even up to the end, I was revising. So I'm going to read this poem that has gone through so many revisions that as it was going to press, I said, wait, I think I have it. And it's called Bless This Land, and it ends the poem. It ends the book because really I think one of the ultimate purposes or the way poems work towards, certainly towards understanding and even towards healing. And I think about, if you think, okay, what is America? America is certainly an entity, a relatively new entity, if given eons, a few hundred years old. And it's this land is, we are the land. And the land obviously asks very little from human beings because we're still here despite our destructions to the land. And yet the land gives us everything and asks for so little from humans that the land likes to be acknowledged. And the land loves songs, and it loves poetry, and it loves to feel the feet of all of us dancing together. Bless this land. Bless this land from the top of its head to the bottom of its feet, from the Arctic old white head to the brown feet of tropical rain. Bless the eyes of this land, for they witness cruelty and kindness in this land. From sunrise light upright to falling down on your knees night. Bless the ears of this land, for they hear cries of heartbreak and shouts of celebration in this land. Once we heard no gunshot in these lands. The trees and stones can be heard singing. Bless the mouth, lips, and speech of this land, for the land is a speaker, a singer, a keeper of all that happens here on this land. Luminous forest, oceans, and rock cliffs sold for the trash glut of gold, uranium, or oil bust rush. Yet there are new stories to be made, little ones coming up over the horizon on this land. Bless the arms and hands of this land, for they remake and restore beauty in this land. We were held in the circle around these lands by song and reminded by the knowers that no one is over the other, no human above the bird, no bird above the insect, no wind above the grass. Bless the heart of this land on its knees, planting food beneath the eternal circle of breathing, swimming, and walking this land. The heart is a poetry maker. There is one heart, said the poetry maker, one body, and all poems make one poem, and we do not use words to make war on this land. Bless the gut labyrinth of this land, for it is the center of unknowing in this land. Bless the femaleness and maleness of this land, for each holds the fluent power of becoming in this land. When it was decided to be in this manner, here in this place, this land, all the birds made a birdly racket from indigo sky holds. Bless the 2 legs and 2 feet of this land, for the sacred always walks beside the profane in this land. These words walk the backbone of this land, massaging the tissue around the cord of life, which is the tree of life upon which this land stands. Bless the destruction of this land, for new shoots will rise from fire, floods, earthquakes, and fierce winds to make new this land. We are land on turtle's back. When the weight of greed overturns us, who will recall the upright song of this land? Bless the creation of new land, for out of chaos we will be compelled to remember to bless this land. The smallest one remembered, the most humble one, the one whose voice you'd have to lean in 1,000 years to hear. We will begin there. Bless these lands. Bless us, these lands, said the rememberer. These lands aren't our lands. These lands aren't your lands. We are this land. And the blessing began a graceful moving through the grasses of time, from the beginning to the circling around place of time, always moving, always.
I had been watching numbers completely invert in the 10 years of my career, where, tribal communities were typically the most likely to attempt breastfeeding, and now they've become the least likely to attempt breastfeeding in the first 6 months of a child's life, and that breast milk is our first food. When you make a change in someone's diet, you're asking them to change their values and their morals. And it's really important to take the time to explain why. To explain that these things are not upholding our health, that I do what I do because the elders sent me out there and said, I don't want to see my grandchildren suffer the way I'm suffering from diabetes and heart disease and things that are totally preventable. And when I'd ask them what they thought they needed to be healthy, every single one of them, time and time again, told me that the culture is the medicine and they believe our foods can heal us. This was really the only thing I thought could make a major, ripple effect kind of difference in 3 years, was to lift as many people up as we can to be breastfeeding peer counselors.
I took the 9-month course on traditional food medicines last year with Val and got my certificate, and I used that to take my third graders out. Every year we go nettle picking. I take them out in the forest to nettle pick, clam dig. They go canoeing and get to do these different things where they're actually harvesting things from Oregon grape to wild rose.
One of the things that's setting this training apart from a typical breastfeeding peer counselor training that you would take is we've developed an exclusive traditional foods and medicines program guide for new moms. And in it, we talk about, how traditional diets, those dietary protocols actually helped promote breast milk production. We're promoting people, get out and harvest their own wild rose as a part of getting ready for the birthing process and preparing some really special medicines for, your newborn. Yeah, we're talking about medicine that you put on your body, but plants infused in waters or eaten in food also increase nutrition.
I want all of our tribal communities to get better, to start to heal themselves, to turn back to their traditional medicines. And I understand that Western medicine has its place. I definitely appreciate that, but why not try to intervene with some of the commonplace fixes that our elders used to use traditionally?
When you're preparing for breastfeeding success, you're thinking about those things, you're holding that space as you're preparing these medicines as well. And that is part of the process of just like landing in motherhood.
I know that the fact that women are coming to these classes, it will make a difference just in the fact that they'll be more confident in themselves, and that will help create that change. The fact that they're confident enough to do what they want to do, which is breastfeed wherever their baby needs to be breastfed.
First Nations has been an incredible ally for this work since it began back in 2009. We started with planting some fruit orchards here at the tribe, and they funded some of that work. They've provided funding for everything from food resources to be planted here on the res to helping me develop a beverage campaign that is now serving several tribal communities throughout the Northwest. They have funded some really innovative work that, we sort of are listening to people in the community say, this is what I think we need. And that's how we are approaching our funding requests to them. And they have faith in our work, which is more than funding really matters to me. So you don't feel alone. And for people who are coordinating these efforts in their own communities across Indian country, that is it's like taking a nice fresh breath of air so that you can continue to do the work. That's what First Nations does. Things could move a little bit faster, and we would be able to be more effective by having a standalone nonprofit that services this kind of work. And we're hoping to, foster economic, efforts around food. We're just trying to prepare the Food Sovereignty Project with good intention and thinking about sustainability over time, and how that is really about writing these messages into the spirit of the future generations. And that means, breastfeeding. That means offering them amazing food options at a young age, and being able to treat people who are faced with epidemics like diabetes and heart disease in a culturally relevant way.
This may look like a big gravel pit right now, but in the fall of 2021, it will be a beautiful building that is home for 80 plus folks to live in. I remember first learning about this. I remember first realizing that my own relatives were experiencing homelessness in a very beautiful and abundant city like Seattle. This is something for us all to consider. It's something for us all to think about. How do we give back to our relatives? How do we support them? How do we lift them up towards wellness? And so that's what this project is about. And we're just taking a little bit of time today to do a ground blessing for our new project. This is the All project. All is the Lushootseed word for home. And we are calling to our relatives to come home, to come to All, to be a part of our thriving Native community here in Seattle.
We're going to have 9 floors. The first 2 floors are going to be named after sacred medicine. Our first medicine, water. Without water, there'd be no life of any kind. But the 7 additional floors will be residential floors. Those are where our most vulnerable relatives are going to live and house. And each floor, we're going to name after one of our sacred medicines. So we've used the 7 medicines that we chose were sage, cedar, wheatgrass, nettle, bear root, salmon berry. We're going to put it in the ground and give an offering to bring that healing to our people once this building is done.
I want to thank all of you for being a part of this monumental project. I want to thank Walsh Construction, Beacon Development, Jones & Jones, with particular appreciation for John Paul Jones for his expertise and his guidance as we build this beautiful home for our relatives here in the heart of Seattle. I am so excited for you all to join us on this journey, and I can't wait to show you more progress as we go. So thank you so much for being such an important part of the Chief Seattle Club family. And I look forward to seeing where we can go.
Hello, my name is Stone Gossard, and I'm here with Mike McCready, and we're welcoming you to the annual Chief Seattle Lunch. We're honored to be here, and we're honored to be part of bringing this welcome pole back to Salish land. We want to thank everyone for coming today. We want to welcome everybody and encourage everybody to be generous. We're in unprecedented times, and the emergency that we're facing in regards to homelessness and food shortages is bound to get worse. And I think right now, as Seattleites, we need to find our most generous spirits and really dig as deep as we can to help alleviate some of this suffering.
Going to the luncheon last year was very enlightening in terms of hearing about the new facilities that they're building for the Indigenous homeless population of Seattle, and the fundraising they need to do that, and the ties to the community that we all need to be part of and need to be. I feel like we can help. I love being part of that kind of thing. Hopefully, to be part of a solution.
You can't live in Seattle and not have experienced the horror of seeing people living on the streets and living in tents, and the disconnect between how much money there is in this city and how we have been unable to solve this issue is something that it makes us all crazy. And I think our impetus for the home show was that obviousness, and Chief Seattle Club has been on the forefront of confronting that obviousness, and we want to continue to work with them as they take up the unique challenge of facing First Peoples and Indigenous peoples homelessness, and veterans homelessness, housing inequality. Those kinds of issues they have to be addressed, and we hope to assist in some way in helping them do that.
We're very passionate about wanting to support the Chief Seattle Club and homeless Indigenous population of Seattle. We feel like the Chief Seattle Club does a fantastic job and continues to. We are in crazy times right now, as we all know, and more than ever, we need to donate money and time to these kind of to this organization, and we're happy to be part of that, and our band is doing the same. Thank you.
On top of a donation that Pearl Jam is making towards the welcome pole, we are also making a $50,000 pledge to Chief Seattle Club as a collaboration with Pearl Jam in regards to directly adding funds for emergency food and shelter for next year. We hope that we can get others to join us as well. We know that we will have an unprecedented challenge ahead, and we're looking forward to that challenge and appreciate everybody coming today. So thank you so much.
Good afternoon. Hi, everyone. We are so glad that you are with us today for this incredible time with our friend Christian Takes a Gun Parrish, or some of you may know him as Supaman. My name is Colleen Echohawk. I am an enrolled member of the Pawnee Nation of Oklahoma. I also belong to my relatives of the Athabascans, Matassa Lake. Hello, anyone watching out there. I am honored to be the executive director at the Chief Seattle Club. And as we begin today, we just want to really recognize here in Seattle that we are in Coast Salish territory, the land of the Duwamish, Muckleshoot, Suquamish, and other Coast Salish tribes that call this area home. We greatly benefit from their land and water and resources, and I'm really excited to get to recognize them this morning, or this afternoon, as we begin this virtual lunch series celebrating 50 years of Chief Seattle Club's existence here in the heart of Seattle. You know, at the Chief Seattle Club, we are a response to the crisis of Native people experiencing homelessness. We know that here in King County in Seattle area that Native people make up 15% of the homeless population, yet we make up only less than 1% of the total population. To me, that is a travesty. To me, this is something that we have to do. We have to take action. I have been at the Chief Seattle Club now for 7 years, following in the footsteps of incredible pioneers, people who were working so hard to support our relatives who are experiencing homelessness. And in the past 7 years, we have done incredible things. We've served thousands and thousands of meals. During the COVID response crisis, we have been open every single day, serving around 10,000 meals a year. That's just a little bit of the work that we're doing. We are also building housing because we know that we have a responsibility to care for our relatives. It is our responsibility to serve them, to love them, and to provide housing that really works for them. So we're building 80 units of housing in Pioneer Square. We're building another 125 units out in Lake City. And together with our community, with other Native nonprofits, we are going to be building this beautiful housing that will bring in about 20% of our Native homeless population. So it is an incredible time to be at the Chief Seattle Club. And it's an incredible time to celebrate 50 years of this work. I want to invite you to right away to think about a donation to the Chief Seattle Club. I want you to think about like what you might have thought about giving and think about giving more, because this is an interesting and surprising time for all of us. This pandemic has hit everyone hard, and it's hit the Native community very hard. And we need your support in order to continue to do this good work and serve our relatives and provide the best possible food and showers and laundry, everything for them. It is an honor to get to do this, to serve them. I want to thank our Chief Seattle Club staff who every day have shown up. They knew about the crisis of COVID. They knew that they might be serving folks who have COVID, and they have shown up every single day to ensure that we can provide food, that we can provide shelter, that we can provide a place for them to get the resources that they need. So thank you, Chief Seattle Club staff and board, for your continued advocacy and partnership for our Chief Seattle Club members. This is a virtual series, so we're going to be doing this for the next 4 days. We have some incredible material for you to see. Tomorrow, we're going to have a day in the life at Chief Seattle Club. You'll get to hear from our amazing Deputy Director, Derek Bellegarde, and Donalda, our Housing Director, and talk about just what it's like to be doing this work during the middle of this COVID crisis. On Wednesday, we will see the amazing Joy Harjo, U.S. Poet Laureate, in conversation with our friend Tracy Rector. Tracy and Joy will discuss her poetry and discuss what does poetry mean in this really interesting time that we're living in, and what is our country going to look like in the next upcoming years. On Thursday, we'll talk about our Sovereignty Farm project. This is a new project that will be seed to table. We'll be using the food that we grow at Sovereignty Farm for our kitchen at Chief Seattle Club, and also for our new cafe that we're opening in the All building. So we're thrilled to think about, to bring in these food sovereignty specialists who will be sharing what does it mean to have food sovereignty in this day and age that we're living in now. And then on Friday, I will be back with our board chair, Annie Kirk, and we're going to do a tribute to some of our wonderful board members and partners over the years. We'll be presenting the very first awards that we've ever done at Chief Seattle Club. The first one is the Stiffarm Visionary Leadership Award in honor of Denise Stiffarm and Ben Stiffarm. And then we'll also be honoring Trisha Trainer with the Trisha Trainer Spirit Award. And they will both join us, and we'll talk about the 50 years at Chief Seattle Club. So it's going to be a pretty exciting time for us, and we want you to join us every day at 12:30. And we also want to remind you that we can't do this without your donations. We cannot do this work without the partnership of our community. So thank you for donating. Thank you for being with us today. And we're going to get to hop into the heart and soul of this conversation with my wonderful friend, Christian Takes a Gun. Some of you know him as Supaman. And as we begin this conversation, we're going to show you a little bit of Chris's work, and we're going to show you a little bit of his heart for the community. I'm so excited to get to have this conversation and to share it with you all. But first, this video.
Listening right now, struggling, feel like giving it right now. I pray for you, pray that you come back home. I pray that you understand that you're never alone. I pray for the single mothers and the deadbeat dads. Drop the kids off and go party gets me mad. So I pray for peace, to pray for change. Keep on praying when everything stays the same. And I pray for the pastors and all of the churches and those who cry like song following hearses. I pray for you, pray for the sick and the poor. Pray for the rich man who don't give to the Lord. And I pray for wisdom wisdom, and I pray for power, and I pray we'll be ready in the final hour, and I pray for those who keep judging ministry, and I pray for my friends and my enemies. Yeah. Come on. Yeah. Come on. Break it down. Can somebody help me up? Oh.
All right. Well, thank you so much. We are so excited to introduce Christian Parrish Takes a Gun, our old friend. Not that we're old, Chris. We've known each other for a while now, but we're quite young, I think. It's good to see you.
Good.
How
Good to
are
see
you?
you and hear about all the amazing things that you're continuing to do. It's just inspiring every time I'm in your presence, even virtually.
Oh man, it's a two-way street, because I was like listening to the song, even though I've heard that song, I've heard you do that song live, and every time I'm inspired, every time I feel like ancestral presence pushing us forward to do this work, to take care of our relatives, and to be that good person that you talk about. And I'm just so glad you're here. I was also thinking, like, I've seen you do that song and then have to talk immediately afterwards. So now you don't have to be out of breath. You can just
some bad jokes in there.
sit back. Exactly. Well, why don't you take a minute and just introduce yourself to our audience and tell us a little bit about your story and how did the legendary Supaman happen? So
Awesome.
Take it away.
Awesome. So kahe beleja awea gema chulahuk biashichidik nababe itchik. I said, what's up, my good relatives out there? My name is Christian Parrish Takes the Gun, aka Supaman. Come from the Apsaalooke Nation in Montana, or the Crow Nation is the mistranslation of our people. My Apsaalooke name is Awea Gema Chala, which means good fortune on Mother Earth. And my clan is the Yashichira, which is the Big Lodge clan. And so for those of you who haven't heard of me, or if that's your first time seeing the video, so I am a performer, I am a fancy dancer, flute player, I'm a father, I'm a husband, I'm a hip hop artist, practicing comedian, sometimes, but I've been doing this kind of work, community work. And I started, just loving the music of hip hop at first. And then I was always a part of the culture of powwow, dancing and things like that. And then along the line, I started to incorporate the two cultures together. And that's what you see now is the infusion of the culture, but always remain positive, in the messaging that I'm trying to deliver, to the people or the listener. I was always taught as a native person, as an artist, if you're going to say something, you have to say something good because you have a responsibility to uplift the people. And that's what I've been doing with my music. And just like my sister, she's doing the good work as well. But she said a very powerful thing earlier. She said, action, that's what it's all about. It's about action. We can all have good ideas, and have it inside our heart or in our minds of wanting to do what's right, or, ideas that might help people. Until we put it into action, that's it just remains an idea. So I'd like to encourage all of you, it's like to don't forget to donate to this amazing this amazing thing happening. It's helping people, helping the community, and uplifting them in a good way. So action, that's what it's all about. So I'm just blessed to be a part of this ongoing this conversation, with my sister and everything. And I'm inspired. Like I said, every time I come in the presence with my sister, I'm inspired. And so just enjoying this pandemic, being home. I'm enjoying being home.
Oh man, I appreciate that so much. There's so much going on right now, and there is, this crisis has just been wow, like how do we respond? How do we take care of each other? How do we ensure like our folks who've been outside, don't suffer further during this crisis? And so I really appreciate those kind words and those good words. And I think that's what over our friendship of, like 15 plus years, I think that, it has been that journey of like, I've seen you walk this walk of like positivity, of inspiration and taking action and, making music. Like, it's just so incredible. I'm just so, blown away by how your continued dedication to music. And I wonder if you can just talk a little bit about like how you have combined culture and tradition into your music, and what does that mean to you, and how do you see that wellness journey living out through your music?
Yeah, definitely. That's one question I often get asked, is like, especially from our community as Native people, we have a lot of protocols and things like that. And to put two culture together like that is like, hey, dude, is that right? Can you do that? Yeah. And so I never did that. When I first started hip hop music, I just kind of kept them separate. I would powwow and then we do hip hop. And, I never put them together, added drums or instrumentation at all, because, like everything that natives do, it always have, as I guess I should say Apsaalooke. I can't speak for, all natives. There's over 600 tribes, plus in the United States, different languages, different everything. But as an Apsaalooke, our music comes from the element of wind, and it's all spirituality. It's all foundational in spirit. And so I was invited to dance, share culture at a university, and we danced and we shared culture during Native American Heritage Day. And afterwards, we went off stage. The young lady who was running the thing said, "Hey, don't you guys rap?" She heard that we did hip hop music. Was like, "Yeah, we do." She said, "Why don't you rap for all these kids here?" There was a lot of kids bust in. It was a good event. And we're like, "Yeah, sure, we can do that." And so we went to go change out of our regalia, our clothes. And she goes, "Where are you going?" And we're like, "Oh, we're going to go change and come back and rap." She said, "No, I need you to go on right now. You're the last ones." So we ended up, by accident, getting up there and performing for the kids. And we got done, we were in our outfits and we went off stage. And then one of our elders, he was coming over, crazy because he just passed away this morning. He came over and he said, "Hey, grandson," he said, "that was powerful what you just did." He took his hat off and he shook my hand. He said, you boys got up there and showed them, about the culture, showed them you were proud to be Native," he said. "And then you spoke the language of those young people, which was hip hop music,
Yeah.
We're like, he said, and then you had something positive to say, being drug and alcohol free, being a husband, being a father." He said, "That's powerful. Our youth are dying. They're committing suicide. They're losing their culture. They're losing their language. Anything you do to reach them with good intentions in your heart, it's worth doing." Yeah. And that is what he shared with us at that moment. And that was the moment, my mind changed, my heart changed. I had more confidence in going out there and presenting the infusion of culture because it had a greater purpose in reaching the person, the listener.
Yeah. Oh man, I love that story. And it just totally gave me goosebumps. I'm sorry to hear about his passing. I think a lot about, the work we're doing in the homeless community and around policy, right? So Chief Seattle Club, we're like embedded into the policy world here. We're trying our best to support our relatives and be advocates, and we're out there. And I think that when you think about the message that you're, of hip hop and the message of the traditional culture and the traditional ways and how you incorporated that, I think about that a lot with our advocacy and policy work. Like we're saying to our larger, government agencies and other major nonprofits, when we bring in traditional ways of knowledge and we bring in culture and we bring in our prayers and our songs and our drums, that is good for everyone. That impacts our system in such a positive way. And we see healing and we see community, we see people getting into housing. And so I think that so often, the some of our traditional ways, our cultural ways are not in the mainstream, but they should be in the mainstream. We're living in indigenous territories all throughout this country, right?
Yeah.
So, I think that, getting to know you like so many years ago and getting to see what you did, bringing in hip hop and bringing in your tradition and your dancing and your regalia, really, has inspired me. Like I think about all those connections, seeing those connections and seeing that we can do that in the policy world, that we can do that for the housing that we're building. So Super great. It's so inspiring and exciting to get to hear from you. And I wonder if you could talk a little bit about just your regalia, and how you in a video we showed prior to this show, you said a little bit about like putting in all those good thoughts and prayers and medicines. Can you just talk a little bit about your regalia and the kind of dance that you do?
Yeah, definitely. So the dance that you see me doing there, or the outfit, is called the men's fancy dance. As I was saying, I'm an Apsaalooke from Montana, so that style is not Apsaalooke. You see the cuffs and the beadwork there on my headband. That is Apsaalooke. That's Crow beadwork. But the style of dance is an adopted style that comes from Oklahoma, and so our traditional dance is called Baduelaso, or prayer dance, or hot dance. This style is a part of powwow culture, which powwow culture is kind of like a universal, native culture nowadays. And so there's a lot of adopting. So I adopted this style that comes from Oklahoma that I was told comes from the crazy dance or the horse dance. And also another story is that it comes from the Buffalo Bill Wild West show. They had natives on there and they kind of made this this dance up, for the spectators for the show. So it's actually probably the most contemporary style of powwow culture today. And so I started dancing this style, but it's the values that come along, with the circle are definitely intact. I was taught that it's a sacred space, it's a sacred place. And when you come out to the circle, you have to keep your heart in a good place. You can't be using, drugs and alcohol and things like that. And if you have any ill feelings towards somebody, you make it right with them. And when you come out to dance, you're dancing for the people and the spectators. You're bringing that healing and that good energy, that good vibe, to the people, and uplifting their spirits. So those are the values that come along with that dance there. So my wife and my daughter, they did all my beadwork. In our culture, code culture, when somebody wants to dance, it's just an amazing thing. People come together, aunties, uncles, they start sewing and getting feathers, and we have a ceremony to bring them out, to the circle, and it's just a big thing. And I think that's really encouraging. Once you know that you're connected, to something bigger than yourself, as a Native person, it uplifts your spirit. It gives you confidence, and it helps you live a better life when you're connected.
Yeah. I love the story of like how fancy dance and the fancy shawl have come into the powwow circuit. And, as Native people, we're always adapting. We're always like growing and evolving, and we're holding on to our traditional ways, but also there's new ways that are always happening. And I think a lot about, the work we're doing at the Chief Seattle Club. We serve so many Native people from all over the country. About 30% of the people we serve are Alaska Native, and then we serve folks from Montana and South Dakota, and then all over the country. And so we're learning all the time how to understand someone's dance, understand someone's song, understand someone's traditional food. We really are focused on traditional food and trying to bring those in. But, we may have like seal oil from Alaska, and then someone from, South Dakota saying, what is that? I don't want to eat that. But we come in a good way with good medicine to try to understand each other and be there for each other as Indigenous people. I know that we're seeing some pictures of our food program right now. I know that right now, Fran, our amazing chef at the Chief Seattle Club, she puts so much good energy into that food. So just like you're saying with your song and your dance and regalia, she puts so much good feelings into the food that's going out, so that we can bring healing and we can bring good medicine to our relatives. And so just so many amazing comparisons with like how you're talking about with your regalia and with the food and the work that we're doing at the club. I would love to just talk with you a little bit more about, your lifestyle. Like you talk a lot and have, for as long as I've known you, of living a life of sobriety, living a life of wellness and resilience. And I just wonder if you could talk a little bit about that and what you're feeling now.
Yeah, definitely. So, because of the history of Native people, in this country, it has, definitely has an impact even today. We're still feeling that historical trauma and those things like that. And so I was kind of grew up in that. My parents, struggled with addiction, and so I ended up in foster care. At an early age, wondering, where my parents are, why is this happening? Just a kid, not knowing. So you go from one house to the next, and not knowing where you're going to go, the next day or what's going to happen. And so I kind of grew up in that, and that was the result of addiction. And so my parents, they got sober and they got clean, and they got us, and we went back to Crow Agency, and we lived there. But the struggle with addiction continued on, and so my father kept that addiction going. And at the age of 10, when I was 10 years old, he ended up, being under the influence of alcohol. He ended up losing his life in a car accident. So after that, that was my mother's, her wake up call for her to just say, what, I need to get right. I need to conquer this thing. She made it up in her mind, in her heart. She said, what, I'm done with addiction. And she did. She said, I'm never touching another drop of alcohol. And she never did. And when I saw that, that was my example. She became my example of how I wanted to live. I wanted to be sober. I looked around at all the deaths happening around me. And I said, what, I'm going to make a stand. I'm going to break the cycle, in my family. And so that's what I did. I broke the cycle. I said, I'm never going to use alcohol. And I never have, to this day. Yeah. And along my journey as a musician, I found that that had a lot of value. The value just began to grow and grow as I got older and started becoming, a man. I saw the value in my sobriety, and I learned that communities needed to hear this message. So with my art and my music, I said, I'm gonna share this message. I'm gonna share my story, with the listener, with my music. And so I've seen the results of sharing my story, being vulnerable, and being in that position where people are inspired, they're challenged to make that commitment or break the cycle in their lives. And it's just real rewarding. I'm sure you doing the work that you do, you just, the reward of doing this kind of work is just, through the roof. It's priceless. And so I'm just humbled, to be able to live this life and see those kind of rewards, those blessings.
Yeah, I tell people all the time, this is the best job I've ever had. I love doing the work. I love when I could go to work, I'm usually at home now, but when we go down and do food service at the club or something, it just is so rewarding to get to, serve some of our relatives, some of our elders. I was thinking about, the foster care system, is often a predictor for homelessness, and we have interacted with homeless Native families who are, living in their car. They have jobs. Their kids are going to daycare during the day, but they just haven't been able to get those extra resources to get into housing. And when you ask them why they don't go to somewhere to get housing, is they say, well, because I was in foster care, and I'm really scared that if I go to some of these mainstream services, that they're gonna take my children away from me, And so it's been so important for us to, be that Native face to them, to say, oh my gosh, we understand, we know that there's been way too many Native kids who've been in foster care, and we are your Native family, your Native community that can assist you along the way, to be with you and to understand your circumstance, and to say that you're doing a great job. You are a wonderful parent. You're trying so hard for your kid. And so we've had several of those kinds of instances over the years where our amazing housing team brings people and families into housing. And one of the fun things in my job is I get myself or Derek Belgard, our deputy director, we get to sign those checks. And even though we're not doing the actual case management, it just feels so good to know we're getting people into housing. And in fact, our program at Chief Seattle Club, our housing program, is one of the top performing programs in the region. And it's everything to do with just being Native and being a Native place for, folks who might be afraid of the mainstream system. So as we get ready to show you guys another video, I just want to again remind you that this is an awesome time to donate. Every donation means that we can continue to house families. We continue to help support that family that's been living in the car, who needs to get into housing, and it doesn't cost us that much, to get them in housing. Somewhere around $2,000 to $3,000. They get in that housing, they have their job, and then they can pay their rent. They can do the work, but they just need that extra help just to get in there. So we appreciate everyone's support right now who's been donating, who's saying to the Chief Seattle Club, yes, we believe in your work. We believe that Native people deserve secure housing. We believe that Native babies should be inside and out of the rain. So thank you everyone for that donation. And Chris, you're just inspiring us to keep doing this work. We want to show another video of yours. Do you want to set this one up for us, Chris? It's the why video.
Oh yeah, definitely. So this video kind of comes after the last video, which was the prayer loop song, where I started using looping. I started looping the instruments, and people were saying, "How are you gonna top that? How are you gonna top that? That was amazing." And I always had the idea in my mind about the medicine dress, the jingle dress, the sound and the story behind it.
Yeah.
It's a significant story about healing, and the sound brought healing to the people. And so I said, I'm gonna loop this sound, put it in this song called Why. At times we go through life, and nobody is we're all going to go through a hard time at some time in our life. And sometimes we ask, why am I going through this? Or why is that person going through that? They're good people. That family is a good family. Why are they going through this? And so we often ask that question, why, as individuals, as human beings. And so I was doing this from my perspective on this song called Why, and adding the instrumentation. So check it out.
Why is one man rich and another man poor? Why we ain't satisfied? Why we gotta have more? Why your suicide rates on the rest so high? Why I tell you the truth but you say don't lie? Why is being a good father at an all-time low? Why is it acceptable? Yo, why? I don't know. Why she blame him and he blame her? It's useless. Ask yourself this question. Why you making excuses? Why do parents gotta bury their kids? Why we text and drive, not caring how scary it is? Why it's so hard to forgive and leave the past behind? And if you did, then that's divine. Why don't you help your brother when you see him fall? Why do we act like God don't see it all? Why do we call them black, them white, them Asians, and use labels? Now that's racism.
I don't wanna hold it.
Why?
I don't wanna hold it. Why? I don't wanna hold it.
Why?
I don't wanna hold it. Why? I don't wanna hold it.
Why?
I don't wanna hold it. Why? I don't wanna hold it.
Why?
I don't wanna hold it.
Why is there innocent people locked up for life, while some people can't say nothing nice? Why do we always gotta question what all of it means? And why won't you follow your dreams? Tell me why. The night when you took my dad, why'd you let me see my grandpa cry? And tell me why. And why do you choose to hide, even though you was born to fly? And tell me why. And why don't we turn from all the hate? And why don't we learn from all mistakes? Why do I keep on wrecking these fat beats? And teachers don't make more than professional athletes? And why? And why? And why? And why? And why? And why?
I don't wanna hold it. I don't wanna hold it. Why? I don't wanna hold it. Hawaii. Hayo wana Hawaii, Hawa. Hayo wana Hawaii. Hayo wana Hawaii, Hawa.
Wow, that video is so beautiful. Like the cinematography of it is just like gorgeous. What was it like making that video?
It was crazy. You know how sometimes, the stars line up, it's just meant to happen. I was in Arizona the day before, just coming home. And Acacia, the beautiful young lady that you saw, she was in South Dakota at a powwow. And she was driving, like back home to Oregon. And the cinematographer was on my res in Crow. And so somebody was telling him about me, and he's like, I need to do a music video with this guy. He called me, and I said, I'll be there tomorrow. I called Acacia, and she said, hey, I'm just right over here. And we just got together the next day, and just within 3 hours, we shot that whole video just in one spot, and it was a blue moon, and, like everything was just amazing.
Yeah, well, I every time I hear it, I feel like healing. I feel like that good medicine you put into that video. And one of the comments that was coming up on why it was going on was just like it got him through treatment. It got him through like hard times. So I just want to say thanks, man. Like, I mean, I know it's not always easy to do this, and I'm imagining because I've seen you around the country at conferences, and I've seen you all over the place. What's it like now in this pandemic for you, and what's going on out in your reservation? How are your family? How are the relatives out there?
Yeah, so when the pandemic hit, I was on tour. I had like a big old long list because I just, we're always in hustle mode, as entrepreneurs. And, so I was always in hustle mode and always traveling all over the place. And then the pandemic hit, and I was like, oh, got cut short. I was like, oh, what am I going to do? But I was so thankful because I've been wanting to stay home, and just be present, with my family. And then this was a blessing. It was a blessing for me to just stay home. So I got to do that. I got to just be home and just relax. It gave me time to finish, be creative. I started getting creative, making beats and, writing some rhymes, coming up with some ideas and things like that. And I started focusing in that direction, which if I was just going, I probably wouldn't have the time, in the back of my mind, I act like I'm going to have the time, but I don't. So it allowed me to get creative. But the pandemic, the virus and everything on our res, at first it wasn't hitting, like people were all good and kind of bragging about it, oh yeah, we're good and everything. And all of a sudden, man, it just, started reaching out its feelers and entered into the reservation, and it started taking our elders, even now, as I told you, the individual this morning, and just so many elders have passed on, and our tribe is just in a state of emergency, trying to do what they can, trying to get the messaging out of wearing your mask and, and staying one buffalo length, away from each other and, being safe. And so we definitely appreciate, the prayers and the good vibes, send it to our tribe back home, in Crow country, because we are definitely dealing with the virus, it's taking its toll with our people, as well as our neighboring relatives, the Northern Cheyennes are going through the same thing right now.
Yeah, it's just really interesting. Like, one of the things that really like struck me when COVID started happening, and, we've had many Chief Seattle Club members who have had COVID, was just the loss of our elders. Like we don't have enough elders around, and some of them are cultural bearers. Some of them are speak the language, and it filled me with a lot of sadness and grief to know like we have to fight for our elders, we have to fight to keep them alive. And it has just been a really big part of our program at Chief Seattle Club now is to get our elders into hotel rooms. So many of our elders that were sleeping in congregate shelter or were sleeping outside now are in hotel rooms getting wonderful services from our staff at the Chief Seattle Club, because it is vital to protect them. It is vital for our communities to move forward. We have to care for these elders. So, prayers up to all of our elders in Indian country. I know that in Alaska, we have a lot of villages getting hit by COVID right now. And all over Indian country. I hope that everyone joins us with sending good medicine, sending up those prayers for our elders and for all of our communities to stay safe through this virus and to come out on the other side of it. And that's really, your message, Chris, is about positivity and those good feelings. We've got some really awesome questions from people on Facebook and on YouTube. This one comes from Misty Lou, and she says, when is your new album coming out?
Yeah, it's a good question. I got to ask myself that every day. But, I don't have a date. I don't have a date set. So being an independent artist, that is one of the things, which is good and bad, I guess you could say. But when I'm done with it, I'll just say, hey, you know what? Today's the day, and I'll just start pushing it out. I was thinking November, it's Native American Heritage Month, and the album is called Frequency, that there's different sounds of frequency, that bring healing. And so I kind of wanted to tap into that lane and kind of use the music in that way, to bring that healing.
And you have a new song on Spotify right now, right? Eclipse?
Oh yeah, Eclipse. Yeah, right when the pandemic was hitting, I just had like a lot of thoughts, and I was making this beat, and I just started writing, into it and just expressing myself. So it's cool. People are liking those verses on there.
I really liked it. I was just like, on your Spotify site last night and saw it and thought it was great. Hadn't heard it. Awesome. So that leads well into the next question, which says, have you incorporated in technology during this pandemic with your messaging as a musician and artist, and how so?
So with technology and, no travel, things like that, I started to have to get, familiar with the video equipment, that I bought. So I started, getting, setting up lighting and things like that. And people wanted to, things like this, do virtual and connect in that way. And so I started getting engagements like that, with schools and doing a virtual presentation, virtual performance. And I thought, hey, this is awesome. I get to be home with my family, but I still get to, connect with the young people out there and share, my story and some music with them. So that's how I started incorporating, getting creative with video and things like that.
Love it. This one comes from Powwow Drum Dad, and he says, I'm living in BC, working to help my community. Your release, One Blood. What is it like to work with Woke Self and Dre Z? What was your inspiration for the lyrics?
Oh yeah, Wake Self, man, rest in peace. My brother, he just passed away. It's almost been a year since he passed away, but he was an amazing individual. And if anybody saw the video I made called Sky World, where I'm just dancing on the white sands, and the young lady is singing this song called Sky World, that has like 20 million views on Facebook. So we actually shot that video while we were shooting, the song that the individual was talking about called One Blood. It was awesome. He's a great guy, and he's just like, vibes are through the roof. He's just like, my sister here. She's just constant positive, and just inspiring at all times. So you want to be around, you can't help but just, be motivated when you're hanging around people like that.
Yeah, amazing. One last question from our Facebook audience out here is, can you talk a little bit about the production of the Stand Up for Standing Rock video?
Yes, the production of that was just amazing, as well. Like I did the prayer loop song, and we're just making music. Next thing you know, Taboo, the Black Eyed Peas, these guys are worldwide, multi-platinum, multi-Grammy award-winning artists, worldwide, Super Bowl halftime performance. And this guy calling me, from the Crow Reservation, 2,000 people. And he's like, yo, man, Standing Rock is going on. I wanted to reach out to some amazing individuals and contribute. He said, I want to contribute to that movement, that was started by the young people, the youth started that movement at Standing Rock. He said, let's contribute to it as artists. The song won't be for sale. There's no money to be made or nothing like that. Let's just contribute, as artists. So we did. That song together, and people like sent their footage in, and they just kind of built that song up, the video, and we put it out, and you can't buy the song anywhere, or anything like that. It's monetized, on YouTube. And so we put that out, and MTV ended up nominating us for MTV VMA Award, and then we went to the VMAs, saw all the superstars there, and hey, we were there, some natives, some people from the res, and from background like you heard, and we were rubbing elbows, with the superstars. And at the end of the night, we ended up winning the MTV VMA Award. It was amazing.
So amazing. I can remember like seeing it all happen, on social media, and just feeling like, tears in my eyes, because I knew you and I know the good heart of Taboo, and it's just really amazing. And I just want to, I think a lot of Native folks out there, we really look to you for encouragement and inspiration, and just want to say thank you for all that you've done. You've helped so many folks through your music, and I wonder if you can just share a little bit right now, like, in this crisis of COVID, for those of us who have housing, it's still hard, right? People's mental health, people are struggling, and for those folks who don't have housing, the thousands of Native people around the country who are struggling, it's even harder for them, to not have housing, to not have security. I wonder what are your thoughts on wellness during this really hard and intense time?
Yeah, my thoughts on wellness, during this time would be, we have to find our strengths. We have to really sharpen our strengths that we use to cope with life, even more so, because of the times we live in. And so whatever your strengths are, maybe you're a writer, maybe you go work out, or maybe you paint, or, you pray. We all have strengths, that we use, that we draw from to help us, get through the next day. And I would say, build your strengths up, lift your weights, whatever your strengths are, that might help you mentally. And sometimes those things are just real simple, maybe calling that person who always encourages you, give them a call and say, hey, just going through this, reach out. And like my sister said, take action. Sometimes we have to fight for our mental health. We have to fight to bring ourselves back up. Sometimes that cloud gets over us, and we got to fight to push through. And I would say, do whatever you have to, do whatever you got to do, man, to stay strong and resilient and get through another day, and always see that light at the end of the tunnel. It's always there. And that's what our people, as natives, we always had that hope. We had that humor to strengthen us. To humor, we look to our ceremonies or whatever it is. We have these strengths that we draw upon to make it through another day.
Yeah, that humor. I mean, I was just thinking, like, when you do your shows, like, you're constantly like dropping some jokes. Some are like super, just so hilarious. So feel free to drop some. We got a funny one right now from it looks like one of my siblings actually. It says, who wins in a dance off, you or Taboo?
Yo, man, we're gonna have to see, brother. We're gonna have to set something up, man. I'm gonna take him out with this move right here. Well, I'm gonna take him out with this move.
Oh yeah,
there it is. It's over, man.
Oh, that's classic. Well, we really appreciate you being here, being with us, supporting the Chief Seattle Club. And I wonder if you have like just a final message for our audience out there. We talked a bit about COVID, but we also are just in a really hard time in our country. Not only has there been a pandemic of the pandemic of COVID, but there's also been a pandemic of racism that has just been illuminated in the past, months. And we're heading up to an election, and we want everyone out there to vote. Like, the Native vote matters. Please vote for, right on, Chris, you got it. We need our Native community to get out there and vote in strongest numbers we've ever had. This is our time. If you've never voted before, I invite you to do it. It is not hard. And we support you in that. But I wonder if you want to give us just a final message of where we should be going and how we should be pushing forward as we enter a really interesting next couple weeks.
Yeah, definitely. So I would encourage anybody watching, don't forget to donate to this amazing cause as well. You know, like Colleen and the whole team, you know, they're just on this level of helping people, like genuine, you know, like some people are out there, they kind of go through their 9-to-5s and it's just a job. But the passion that I see, you know, from this team here is just amazing. You know, when I was there at the club, I could feel the passion that they had for the people. And that's one thing, you know, that's missing with a lot of causes and you know, like the work that they're doing is that passion, but they're passionate. So if you just had a question of like, are they really helping the people? Yes, they are. They're doing amazing work. And so I would say, don't forget to donate what you can, man, and just help the people. And also I just wanted to share with anybody out there, man, continue to be resilient. You know, continue to wake up in the morning and, you know, straighten your posture. You know, physiology is number one. Hey, it's going to be a good day, you know.
Yeah.
It's just the way how you are. If you're like this, you know, you got your head down, guess what kind of day you're going to have? You know, it's like, if you talk like this, and it's going to be a wonderful day. No, you got to stand up. Yo, it's going to be an awesome day. You know, let's go. You know, the way you talk, how you deal with life, how you deal with situations is up to you.
Yeah.
Somebody once said, nobody can ruin your day. It is you who gives that person that power to ruin your day. Nobody can ruin your day. They can say what they want. Things can come your way, but it is you, how you respond to life when it shows up. Are you going to fight through it? Are you going to back down? It is up to you. You have that power. So I would say, take that power, move forward, you know, speak life over your future, over your situation, and your physiology, you know, is very important as well. And focus. Life is what you focus on. If you're focusing on the good, you're focused on success, you're focused on blessing, helping people, that's where you're going to go. But if you're focused on hate, you're focused on, you know, depression, you're focused on all the negative, that's where your spirit is going to go in that direction. So you have that power to focus on the things that are building you up and taking you further down the road in a good way.
Amazing message. Like, we just cannot thank you enough. And, you know, I think a lot about, you know, our members of the Chief Seattle Club all the time. One of the things that is like blows my mind is that people will have spent the night outside. They'll have experienced really hard things. We know that many of our members experience sexual trauma while they're outside. They experience just the, you know, just the indignity of sleeping on the street. Like, it is not fun. It is terrible. It does not feel good. And yet they're at our doors at 7 a.m. They're waiting for us to open. They come in the doors and you know, we can't let people hang out like we used to, but in normal times, people would come in, sit next to each other. They're laughing, they're hanging out, they're enjoying each other's company, they're positive. And I'm always just so impressed and inspired by their resilience, by their strength, by their fortitude of just getting through and then, you know, going on to that next thing. And I think that message is such a powerful message as we all, you know, continue through this crisis. It's not, we're maybe in the middle of it, you know, we're not anywhere near the end. So we have to be focused, like you said, and strong. And, you know, that's what we continue to do for our members of the Chief Seattle Club. As we finish up today, I just want to remind everybody that we are really close to getting people into 80 units of housing in our All project. We're actually out of the ground. It took a long time to get out of the ground. You can come by and see. I can't stop taking pictures of our crane. I didn't realize I would get so excited about a crane, but I am. And you can come down and you can see how we're like actually like seeing like really amazing progress. And that building will be open in October of next year. We also will have a cafe that is going to be supported by our Native Works team. They are going strong. So they will be supporting our Sovereignty Cafe as part of our Sovereignty Farm project. And also the Seattle Indian Health Board, one of our most amazing partners. They will be there. They will have a clinic that folks can get into and enjoy amazing medical facilities, but in a Native way, you know? So we're thrilled with that. I also wanted to say too, that this is a perfect time if you want to buy something from our Native Works team. So we have an apprenticeship program called Native Works, and Native Works has been continuing on through this pandemic. They're in the middle of finishing up some masks. So we're creating some masks, and these masks have sage incorporated into the mask so that you can be getting that good purification of the sage while you're protecting yourself from COVID. We also have some new t-shirts that incorporate the jingle dress, the medicine song that you showed. And that is gonna be really, the shirt is called Sacred Medicine. And so that is available on the Chief Seattle Club site if you can hit the Native Works button there. So lots of a really amazing work that is happening at the Chief Seattle Club. We want to continue to invite you to donate. Know that your work, your donation, your partnership, your allyship, you being a co-conspirator in this work with us is going to ensure that we can love our relatives, that we can show them that this is a place for you. This is your home. This is you've been left outside. You have been abandoned, but we don't see that. We see that that we are here for you, that we are going to support you. We're going to lift you up. We're going to believe in you. We're going to believe that you can get into new wellness and new ways of good medicine. So it has been so great to be with you, Chris. Do you have any final words for the audience out there?
I just want to thank everybody for tuning in, and thank you, Chief Seattle Club, for always in the hospitality and, the motivation, and just you guys are inspiring to me as well. And thank you for the platform, to speak. And so just blessings to everybody. Have a blessed day.
Thanks, Chris. We're so honored, so incredibly honored to have you with us and for your continued support. As we finish up, I just want to say thanks to some really amazing people. Olivia from the Chief Seattle Club staff who helped make this amazing series come together. Also Jeff Bareham with Skybear Media. We really appreciate you guys. Thank you for all this good work and letting this happen. I also just want to say a big shout out to this Chief Seattle Club staff and board for your continued work to ensure that we can bring our relatives home, that we can offer these wonderful spaces of healing and community for our relatives who've been experiencing homelessness. So thank you so much. Please donate. Tomorrow at 12:30 in our lunchtime series, you'll get to hear from Derek Belgard and Donalda, who run the day-to-day operations at Chief Seattle Club. And you get to hear and see what it's like to do this work through this COVID crisis. It has been an incredible, incredible journey. And we want to take you guys on this journey with us. So thank you all. We raise our hands to you. This has been such a fun time for me. And we just thank you so much for your continued support and partnership for the Chief Seattle Club while we carry on our work. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And we're going to finish this time with a video. Again, thanks for being here, and we'll look forward to seeing you tomorrow.